Thanks, everyone. Just wanted to give you some news on what's new on Google Cloud. When it comes to I/O, I mean, it's not the place where you get the most Google Cloud news. So I kind of cheated and get some information from around everywhere. And put it in together. So just to give you some information, we're going to go through. So just going to meet the GDG Montreal Cloud Montreal team because yes, we do exist. When I say I'm going to cheat, there's a little bit with some news. We're going to do some recap from Next 24. I'm going to give Google Workspace some love because it never gets love. There's not a meetup for it. So it's going to be one slide, but still and it's linked to I/O, so it works. Then we'll tackle the what's new Google Cloud, and then we'll just talk about our next event. And I will be mindful of the time and the leftover pizza and beer in the back. Just to start, meet the Google Montreal team, which is basically myself. So Stacy Verano, I'm Director of Cloud Solution and Sales Engineering at SC Cloud Expert. We're a Google Cloud partner. Also with me, newly appointed co-org, Florian, thank you. App Manager at Davidson. So great not to be alone to organize everything. I was not alone before, but there's some stuff where when your friends go work at Google, they can no longer be co-org, so you have to find replacement. So good stuff for having friends at Google, but thank you for jumping in, Lauren, really appreciate it. From that, we're just gonna do a little quick Next 24 TLDR. So basically, why there's no much news on Google Cloud at Google I/O, it's because there's a big party in Vegas before called Google Cloud Next. Basically this year it moved from San Francisco to Vegas, was from April 9 to 11. It showcases everything around GCP itself. So it goes from even like low-level development to just like business C-level executive discussion. So at this event, you're able to cover all of this over 3 days. Of course, they've hijacked the Sphere again, which was pretty cool. And also, like usually what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but there's 30,000 people who actually learn stuff about GCP. So we got out of there with a lot of information. So we're not keeping it in Vegas. And 2025, same thing, around the same time in April is going to come back. So it's the new home for Google Cloud Next. So what basically was covered, just highlights. There's like the new TPUs that were announced in terms of hardware. Also the Google Axiom, which is the silicon made by Google for their own data center, which was pretty neat. Of course, everything was mostly around AI. There's always AI somewhere. Not a surprise, I think, for everybody. And also with AI linked to helping developers, so like Code Assist, which is your Copilot equivalent, that was also like mentioned in Next. So I want to keep it short on Next 24. We're gonna give some workspace love, just one slide. Poor little guy. Use it every day, it's a great tool. There's no meetup around it. So not a big surprise that it was around AI again, and this was announced during I/O also. So basically Gemini 1.5 Pro was there, announced integration with Google Meet. So your transcription, basically, like you're taking notes from the meeting, transcription, give me a summary of the note action items that was there. So also like the AI workflow, so you're actually able to say, well, when this email comes in, start a draft with this, then give me a summary, then send it for approval. You are now able to do that within Google Workspace, which is pretty cool. The 1.5 Pro thing, which is interesting, is that if you're playing with Google Cloud and Vertex AI, where everything is in there, all the models, Gemini is there, so why is it the news in Workspace where it's already in GCP? Big difference is that it's basically two separate tracks. And 1.5 in Workspace gives you that 2 million token, multimodal, multi-language model baked into your collaborative tool, which is not the case when you're in GCP, which is the platform where you actually develop your stuff and your model. Google Cloud, which is, I've mixed a bunch of stuff. I've mentioned Gemini 1.5 at I/O. One of the things that was actually announced around GCP was Gemini 1.5 Pro, but also Flash. So Pro is the model that can set here's all the extended version of Lord of the Ring, analyze this and make it a cartoon. And then 5 minutes later, you have it. And then you have a bill of $20,000. But also, they've announced 1.5 Flash, which is made for speed. So if you have something which is sentiment analysis on live data coming in, you don't want a massive model working on that. You want a smaller one. So 1.5 Flash is purpose-built for those quick jobs that have like multiple inputs, like nonstop. So that's something that's super useful and was announced following 1.5 Pro at Next, the Flash one at Google I/O. Since like I said, like it's not, I/O is not where you get the most news. If you look at the cloud track at I/O itself, you'll actually see a lot of use cases. Like it's basically videos like I'm talking about, like leveraging Cloud Runs with Vertex AI, GKE, leveraging databases also to keep the information or your model you're retraining inside like it's a structured database. Basically what I wanted to do is to kind of summarize this in one a bit busy slide, I'll admit. But the idea is that if you're able to leverage Cloud Run on, which is your serverless piece on Google Cloud, if you're leveraging, or GKE, just still container-based, but can be fully orchestrated and can scale massively depending on your workloads, can also leverage GPUs. And if you're also using something like Postgres for storing your database, as a database to store your information, sorry about that, and wrap this with Vertex AI as a platform, because that's what it is, then you have massive benefits. You're able to make your development easier, you're able to scale, but most of the things that, yes, people will deploy, develop, and put massive amount of application that are making calls to Gemini 1.5 or whatever else, but then it's still something you still need to monitor. If this thing runs, you need to know what's happening. Like how many querying and getting in, is there a problem somewhere? Leveraging the entire platform itself brings monitoring inside the stack, inside your application. Then you actually have something that's deemed for production properly. So I wanted to cover that in this piece. One of the things that was not announced at I/O, but was announced at Next, and it looks like Splinter Cell 6 from, but that's not it. It's called like Vertex AI Agents, and it's not as fascinating as this. It's basically see agents as a no-code. It's a no-code store, I call it there, where you're actually able to integrate generative AI either from search, for chat, for dialogue, for a recommendation, but with a no-code approach. So I have a data source, I have an agent that's purpose-built, and I'm leveraging it to look at my documents or anything else that I have, and then I can actually just go through it. So I said conversational. I'm just going to go with the other one. Good example of this, and I'll show the data sources and the agent type after. I have a screen capture. So basically, if you want to do like customer support, maybe you have a massive hotline of all the calls coming in. You would like to scrape that data to figure out which is the biggest blocker, what gets escalated to level 2 or 3. Then you're able to put that data in through an agent and start getting those information out. So HR onboarding, same thing. Say, okay, well, here's your HR agent. Like, I don't know, like, what are the statutory holidays in this company? Is there any extra one? You ask the agent, which is like your chat bot. You get the answers because it feeds itself from the information HR provided. So always useful. Education and training, same thing. Like if you have a big catalog of information on in-house training, which is kind of linked also like to HR onboarding. But if you have like a library of information, you're able to leverage it. Also for healthcare, well, if you want to check schedule appointment and all that based on a calendar, that's a good opportunity for an agent. So mention the app type. So you can do search. I've mentioned, which is basically I need to search on a data source, which I'll define later. Then there's like the chat piece where you actually want to converse in back and forth with an agent to drill down to like give me that type of information. Pseudo like at gemini.google.com, but straight on Vertex AI, so inside GCP. So it's not, you don't have to go to Gemini, you actually have something that's say internally, URL you hit, and then it's there. The recommendation piece I've mentioned early on also, and then now it's like the agent at the end, which is really purpose-built natural language agents that you can select and build upon. Data sources, it's getting bigger. So what I was trying to say is like for any agent, let's say if I'm looking for information on a website, internal or external, I can use the website content. This thing in 5 minutes, you actually have a little piece of snippet that you can inject in your website. Or you can just test it out as inside Vertex itself, which looks like if you're on your phone or just chatting with an agent, and it will feed itself from all the information from your website. So how do I contact XYZ? It has the information. So somebody said like I want like a floating agent on my website, you're able to do this in 5 minutes. So it's pretty straightforward. Same thing, well, BigQuery, if you have like structured data somewhere, you want to query it, you can use it as data source. Cloud storage and Google Drive are a really nice one. We've talked about like HR onboarding or stuff like that. Or, I don't know, like you're in consulting firm, you're getting an RFP, and you want to know, how do we answer those RFPs in the past? You ask the agent who actually indexed everything that was, let's say, in Google Drive related to specific information. Then you're able to get the replies, and it's just like not an answer. You're actually able to converse and drill down your results. Of course, there's the other databases you can link into, and important ones like the API. So if it's not there, but there's an API and you can actually connect to it, parse the results, and feed your agent, then you actually have another source. Other sources like Confluence or even like OneDrive for Business or stuff that are coming. So if somebody is not like a workspace user, but like an Office 365 user, you still have data. It might be nice to leverage the platform on the Google Cloud side, but your data is inside the Microsoft ecosystem. You'll be able to link them together. So with all of this, and there's always like RAG, like retrieval augmented generation, where you want to validate, like, is my model actually like, where do I back myself up with? So if you're using Gemini.google.com, you'll have that little Google icon at the bottom. It's like, well, from this result, you're telling me, like, always the same example, like, tell me about the first elephant on the moon, and then it start hallucinating and giving you weird stuff. You can actually say, like, can you validate yourself? And it's gonna say, oh, actually, like, this is, like, I can't find any reference to this, so this is probably not accurate. The RAG piece on Vertex AI is that I can actually use it to say, you're only gonna validate the information you're giving us back. It's only valid versus, like, the data source I gave you. Like, don't go on the internet trying to learn something about, no, stay in your box. Your box is Google Drive, and stay there. So you know the information has been validated against itself, which, allows for less hallucination and more accurate data. So you're grounding your results based on a data source. So one last thing on the Vertex AI piece. It's a platform. One thing is called the Model Garden. So basically sit as a one-stop shop for models. So it's not because it's Google, it's only Gemini and the rest is invalid. So there are multiple partners. Anthropic is one of them. Our friends from Meta also are there, Hugging Face. Gemma is there. So Gemma is basically your, I want to call it like open source. It's your open LLM straight from the Model Garden. So if you actually want to do specific stuff with Gemma, which is similar to Gemini, you're able to do it, but you're able to do it also offline, which is kind of interesting. Just to give you an example of the ecosystem, like Llama 3, from the announcement from the team at Meta to being available in the Model Garden was 20 hours. So there's a new model, you want to leverage it, you're on GCP, no problem. Just give it like a day or two, boom, it's there. So you can leverage it, so you're not bound to Google models if you want. So good ecosystem, so that you're not bound or stuck. Well, not stuck, but you have your choice. It's not like Google Cloud equals Google model. All right. So the next event there is GDG Cloud Montreal events. Usually it was all online since since COVID. We've been online. It's the first time we're actually seeing people in real life. Well, beside the fest last year, but I mean in general. So the next event itself, you can see I have way too much time with ideogram to generate like AI images. But July 10, so we'll have David Cardozo from Updata. He's gonna join us. He wanted to be here today, but the guy lives in Victoriaville, and it's like 42 outside, and he has to drive here. So like, no, stay home, man. He'll join us. This one's gonna be virtual because of time constraint. So we'll basically cover like Vertex AI pipelines and in an MLOps spectrum. So it could be really interesting. The event is still not in our platform. I'm gonna basically do it tomorrow. And I know that on July 10, there's also an event, but yours is at night, so you can do this during your lunchtime and then do the other one after. It's not a problem. We can do both. So just like Scan there is going to bring you to the GDG Cloud Montreal page so you can register. And then as soon as we have a new event, we'll post it up there. This one's going to be online. The next one in September will most probably be in person and also at Davidson, Canada. So they're going to host us there. So if I'm not mistaken, Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the pizza.